Welcome in, everybody. Episode 3 of the Two Bucks Sports Podcast. We're recording a little bit early this week with the Thanksgiving holiday week coming up. I'm traveling back home to Mississippi, but to the home place, down to a little farm that my family owns in South Mississippi where there's no Wi-Fi. So Drew and I are hopping on tonight. Welcome on in, Drew.
Hey man, excited to be here. I guess we could make this like a super podcast
Ooh,
since we're instead of filling a void of 7 days from when you hear us to when we're back again. It's like going to be like 10 or 12 days. Let's just shoot for like an hour 45.
let's go, man. We'll Joe Rogan. We'll just talk all night.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna start like we always do. We're gonna start. Well, first off, what you drinking?
I just actually finished it off. I had
Mm.
a little bullet rye tonight. It sounded good and hit the spot. How about yourself?
Well, I am drinking what you bought me, my housewarming gift.
Hey,
Macallan, what year? 10 year?
tenure, I believe. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It probably tastes the same to me as Macallan 5 year. So, uh, yeah, and some exciting news today. We're going to have our first special guest join us.
Yeah.
Uh, and join us at the perfect time. Because there's some topics in his line of work and his fandom that seem very prudent for
Mm,
this week's show.
mm.
So, let's look back. Let's recap what we watched last weekend. It was a big okay. It was a weekend of football. Uh, I always hate. I know why they do it, but the week before rivalry week is just the pits, man.
Mhm,
Uh, the two SEC games were Ole Miss, Arkansas,
mhm,
and Vandy in Florida.
mhm,
And Ole Miss aside, I don't. It sucks for those four teams,
mhm.
and everybody else is just gets a week to rest up.
Yeah.
Alabama just lazily goes in and takes care of some directional school,
Mm.
and just
Yeah.
a bad week, just a
Well,
bad week of football.
they call it Cupcake Week for a reason. I get it. You run the gauntlet of the SEC schedule. A week off is nice, but at the same time, man, like just sack up and play another SEC team, play a little bit better rivalry. I mean, Mississippi State, we beat up on East Tennessee State. It was 56-0 until the closing moments when a punt was blocked for a touchdown to make it 56-7. This was not a competitive game. It's cool to watch some of the younger players play, but at the same time, you're right, man. It's just a bad weekend of football outside of just a couple games.
Yeah, and we can just go ahead and touch on these few games from last week real quick. Everybody had a cupcake week, even Arkansas. Who Ole Miss went down to Fayetteville, over to Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas,
Mhm.
home with Sam Walton and Jerry Jones,
And that's about it.
and just got demolished. And there was a lot to take away from it, and at the same time, it's just you're speechless.
Mm,
I told you last week on the show, you had the over on that game,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And if Ole Miss scores the points that
mhm.
the stat line shows that they should have, your over hits 100 times out of 100.
Yep.
Uh, Instead, Ole Miss racks up 702 yards of offense, has two 200-yard rushers, and yet after one possession in the third quarter, they're getting beat 42-3 by Arkansas. You ever seen anything like it?
No, no. Ole Miss was moving the ball at will between the 20s, and then turnover, shoot themselves in the foot, running out of steam. It just wasn't. It was a poorly executed game, man. And watching that, it almost looked like there was some distraction. There was something going on behind the scenes that kind of led to a flat performance, to them not being prepared.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I can come up with. There's been everybody knows there's been the rumors out, and I believe what happened last week lies at Lane's feet. Now I'm a Lane believer. I think You look at where he took over from Matt Luke. Ole Miss should have never hired Matt Luke. Matt Luke was a mascot for this program, and he just took it to the pits. And when Lane Kiffin took over, I mean, it was bleak. And the only reason we were, as Ole Miss fans, were excited for the next football season was because we got Lane Kiffin. Like, he was the engine. He was all that we had, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a name, and he's a guru, and he's a dynamic recruiter. And we're coming close to the end of year 3, and year 1 was a pandemic. And up until that game, you have a shot at having 2 10-win seasons in 3 years at Ole Miss. And Lane is a guy who likes to have his name out there. Point blank, he's a Jimmy Sexton guy. He likes to have his name out there. He's going to any press is good press. I mean, he's likes the bidding. He's the high school jock that likes to have the girls fighting over him. And it's not a bad thing. It's definitely not bad for Lane. But what happens is you just come off of a tough loss against Alabama, where he was a former assistant, and everybody knows that he loves Saban as much as he loves to rag Saban. He looks up to the guy. He sees Alabama as the preeminent college football powerhouse that they are. I mean, Georgia's still the new kid on the block relative to Alabama. And Alabama is number 1, and there's only probably 2 to 3 other schools that can even afford to be mentioned in the top 5. That's how far ahead Alabama is.
Right.
And we had a shot at beating them. And you look at penalties, he had the cute little Jackson Dart's mama said it's a shame that he doesn't get treated as equals compared to Alabama. And he said, you can't sue me because she said, just genius, Lane turning the media, being a comedian. But I believe 2 things happened in that Arkansas game. He let Alabama beat him again. That one hurt. And no kidding, it hurt me too. Because I was sitting there and I was excited. And I was excited. All right, well, making an entrance here.
Welcome to the tape team. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Zach Jones.
We've got our first guest on the 2 Buck Sports Podcast. Joining me and Rusty. He hails from Counts, Tennessee.
Correct.
Cotton Gin Road.
Good enough. Yeah.
And welcome, Zach Jones.
Thank you, man. Yeah, happy to be here, boys. Happy to talk some sports. Been really enjoying the podcast. I got to be honest. I was a little surprised over the first 2 episodes of how much I enjoyed listening to it. So tip of the hat. I thought I would, enjoy listening to it a little bit, but I have enjoyed listening to the full episode both times. So, hat tip,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Just trying to put out a quality product to impress our 4 subscribers and all of our listeners.
Yeah. Oh, well, one at a time, buddy. One at a time.
Brick by brick.
So, by God.
We'll get there. We were just talking. I blame Lane for the loss to Arkansas. And the reason is, 1, he let Alabama beat him again. He had a hard time getting over that loss. And now, and as most people do, podcast, we're on YouTube right now. So you can see my fingers. We were that close to beating Alabama. And we were so close that you got to be able to criticize the refs. That's an accomplishment when you're playing Alabama. If you're close enough to be able to criticize the refs, then you're going to hang on to that, And then the Auburn stuff just keeps circling. I mean, and I never really had any really fear, because this has happened. This is Lane's MO. He likes to be at center of attention. But that stuff just keeps swirling. And as long as you just let it keep swirling, these college kids who are, because of NIL, are being tampered with. They are being recruited. And just like they were in high school, they're being fed. Your coach is leaving. Your coach is leaving. Your coach is leaving. And that has an effect. And you go play in Fayetteville, where they have just the crazies and a bunch of them. in 20-degree weather, it got sideways quick, and it stayed that way. And so that's where I'm at now. I don't know what Lane does going forward. I've got a really bad feeling about it. I'll be honest.
I know what
with
he
you.
does. He leaves.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, I've been there, as a Tennessee fan.
Yeah.
I have indeed been there, and he's grass's greener guy.
Yeah.
Always has been, and unfortunately for you, I foresee that, but maybe you won't. So
Yeah, and I think NIL has changed this because when NIL came in, before NIL came in, I would have felt really confident stacking myself up with Auburn. I mean, I know Auburn's had runs, and I know they've got an endowment. They've got a bigger chest than we do. They like to think they're a bigger dog. But if you just look at wins and losses and success of football teams, if you take away Cam Newton, which I understand, you can't take away Cam Newton. Since then, the records are virtually identical.
Right.
We've been to 3 Access Bowls. I think it's fair to say it's not the step up that I would have expected him to make.
So I got some thoughts on that. NIL does love the playing field a bit, but Auburn's got sneaky money. Auburn's got more money than people think.
That's my point.
Is
that Auburn is able to, or is right now, saying that they have a war chest of NIL. Now, the NIL may be Bitcoin for all I know. It's mystery money. If I was Ole Miss, what I'd do is I would lie my tail off. There's no bank account out there with NIL money. Like, just lie,
Yeah.
and then call your booster when you need some, whatever
Drew,
it does.
Drew, I appreciate your optimism there, but I'm on Twitter, and we all know that Twitter is gospel, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm scrolling through some of the comments under the announcement, and these Auburn fans, man, they're characters. None of them can spell. I'm surprised they know how to use a phone. But my boy Jack Auburn fan 12, Mr. Jack Williams, shout out, tweeted out at 9:20 that you realize, but the way he spelled realize is REAL space EYES. You realize.
Realize.
You need to see it with your real eyes, that third eye.
Realize.
Your third eye. Uh-huh.
Realize. He was just offered an 8-year, $10.25 million contract by Auburn, right? RITE. Mr. Jackson in the know, right?
No.
I mean, he's got real eyes. Mr. Jackson in the know. And then the other thing that doesn't stand in your favor is Lane Kiffin's reference to the pine box. Yeah. I don't know if you remember or not. But,
of course I remember.
Mr. Tommy Tuberville, right before he left Ole Miss for Auburn and ultimately the Alabama House of Representatives, was that you'd have to take me out of Oxford in a pine
Senator.
box.
He's a senator.
Senator. Was you have to take me out of Oxford in a pine box? And Mr. Lane Kiffin said, I believe it was today, said, I could give you a pine box speech, but I'm not going to waste my time. Your boy's gone.
It would be fitting. Ole Miss in my lifetime has lost a number of coaches to being fired. And they have only had 2 coaches leave on their own free will. And that would be Tommy Tuberville and maybe Lane Kiffin. And they both got off. So, as an Ole Miss fan who thinks that, based on the opportunities that we had the last 2 years of being a play away or two, you're in the mix for a 4 and maybe one day an 8 or a 16 team playoff. You're in it. You need it to be perfect, but it's just a real kick to the stomach when he potentially chooses the guy down the street. This isn't Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma for USC. That this is a direct competitor.
It's Lane Kiffin, man. That's what
he does. Hurt.
That's exactly what he does. That's exactly what he does, man. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky in a little bit of a round robin here. When Lane decides to leave, you'll get Freeze back.
That's not going to happen. But what can happen, and what the benefit of Lane is that Freeze started the whole upward trajectory. For all of his flaws when he was at Ole Miss, he showed that Ole Miss could go 10-2. They could make it to a Sugar Bowl. They could beat Alabama. And so Lane has taken the program another step, and it, if nothing else, has made him a little bit more desirable. I don't know if with all the conference realignment, I think the SEC draw is only going to get better, and there's only 14 jobs of those jobs right now.
Right. You'll have your pick of the litter, that's for sure. But all this Lane Kiffin talk kind of leads to the next inevitable game. And Zach, you kind of timed it just right coming in. We had a lot of struggles on Saturday. Michigan struggled with Illinois for a long time. Shout out to my boy Lauren Massey, big Illini fan. Was a little bit salty towards the end of that game about the Illini defense opening the door for Michigan. Ohio State didn't get off to the best start, but man, you talk about struggling. Zach, your boys up there in Knoxville, man. First of all, I'll say the orange helmets were a nice touch. I did like those.
Yeah. They look like Clemson. I turned the TV on. I was like, is that Clemson?
Don't know if you'll ever wear them again, though, right?
This is Knoxville orange, Drew.
Yeah, man. As good as Tennessee's offense has been this year, their defense was equally as bad. It was just hidden by the fact that they hadn't played a ton of great offenses.
Yep.
And then they met Spencer Rattler.
Yep. The defense has been suspect all year. Sure. I mean, they ran up against that, when they played Georgia, and they scored 12, 13 points. But I'll be honest with you, I almost, I'm delusional because I'm a Tennessee fan. We enter every offseason knowing that we're going to be national champions. And just positive of it. And, so when we don't get there, it's heartbreak every year. But there's a tendency in me almost to not watch that game. Because I knew it was in the bag, it's clearly in the bag. Just a tough game all the way around. And, cherry on top being Hendon taking an L there and getting injured there at the end of the game. So,
yeah, that
tough
hurt.
game for the boys.
That hurt me to watch because I do get my jokes off with the Tennessee's back every year, and I know Zach's been on
like 98,
and
98 every year, baby.
Yeah. Right, and those are funny jokes when it falls apart, and it turned out to the team not to be as good. This team was good enough, and now that injury was. If it would have happened earlier in the game, now that game was over. It didn't decide it, and that was the thing that kept it from being as painful as it could have been.
Correct.
But to be losing that game after it was just a bad Saturday of football for you guys. You needed Michigan to lose, or you needed TCU to lose. TCU ran on the field in the last minute to kick a field goal, and then it's like they were scoreboard watching or something. And you go out there and just get thrashed, and then your quarterback just blows his knee up, and it sucks. And it sucks for him because he is not a redshirt sophomore. He is a graduate. He is 24 years old.
I believe he's 24.
His only stop is the NFL after this, and in game 11 he blows it out. It's just. I hate it for the guy.
I'll be real with you. Do. As much pro football as I watch, and I watch a ton, my honest opinion is that he's not a pro quarterback. I think that probably his best days are in college. So I kind of do hate it for him. That he, that happened to him during the season.
Maybe he'll end up at the Memphis Showboats in the new USFL league. You can go watch him play there, man. Because I agree. He's he's a system quarterback.
I think he is. Yeah.
He can go play for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and challenge Chad Kelly next year.
There it is.
As he goes to defend his Grey Cup title.
I had a buddy that was there at the game. He talked about, they ran out of fireworks because they scored so many points. But there's jokes for days, man. But really, all UT is 2014 Mississippi State. And that hurts my heart to say, but
don't say
number one in the playoff
rankings,
and then limp to a finish. We'll talk more about that later, but a tough beat this past weekend, man. I hate that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of good football. We'll kind of circle back to that. Zach's joined tonight, talk some SEC, talk some NFL. So we'll kind of circle back to that in just a couple minutes. But I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Grizz for a few minutes. Our boys down there on Beale Street had a good win, then a rough win or a rough night. Had a good opportunity for a couple of wins since our last podcast. We beat up on Oklahoma City pretty good.
That was a better win than we would have thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
it was.
SGA was on fire going into that game.
Absolutely.
And that would ended up being, especially being down Ja and Dez, that's a solid win.
Yeah, they outshot us 46% to 41%. I mean, they played really, really well. Ja being limited in that game, he had 19 points, 15 for Santi Aldama off the bench, which he continues to play just solid basketball, man. He's always in the right place, makes good decisions. He's a fun guy to watch. I'm going to continue my tirade. He only got 15 minutes, but David Roddy -8 and plus minus again. Just guy gets lost on the court.
How many minutes?
He had 15 minutes, and in that 15 minutes, he was -8.
He's had worse games.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the worst game here in a minute against the Nets. That whole game abysmal. But yeah, solid effort against the Thunder. Y'all got any more thoughts on that? 2 30-point quarters, played really well against the Thunder and a young up and coming team.
And we had family in town, so a lot of that game I was watching box score. And so, Rusty, you can fill me in if you caught it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander came in on an absolute tear.
Oh my gosh.
And I believe he finished the game in the teens, right? Mm-hmm. So a really good job of being able to focus on him. Mm-hmm. And without seeing it, I'm going to give the credit to Dylan Brooks on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just about to say, man.
He was incredible in the next game.
Dylan Brooks is a friggin' menace, man. He is like Bad Boys Pistons and one guy, just an absolute menace on the court. He was in SGA's pocket all night, man. He's played some quality minutes. Plus minus of a plus 19, finished with 16 points. Had a steal, but just like ate up SGA, finished with 15 points. Like absolutely. He was a -13, SGA was. And that's a big shout out to Dylan Brooks, man. He was all over the court that night. Fun to watch.
How many fouls did Dylan have that game?
Let's see.
He had 5.
He had 2 actually, 2 personal fouls. That's it.
Only 2, bud. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
And then the biggest thing, man, he only had 1 turnover, 6 for 20, a little rough night from the field from him, but it's because he was tired from running around SGA all night.
Some call that a rough night. Some call that a basketball game.
Yeah. Not so great playing the Nets the other night. Lost 127-115. Kyrie Irving's first game back came back with a vengeance. Had 14 points, plus minus and plus 16, but pretty much had his way in the lane all night long. Slashed, drove. Every time I looked up, he was at the rim for a layup or down there making a play. The Nets are what they are. We didn't have Ja. He's out for another week or so with that little low-grade ankle sprain.
He's actually he's been elevated to doubtful for tomorrow night's game. So I'd be looking at him coming in after the next game.
Yeah, I don't think he plays tomorrow night against the Kings. Real quick, back to that. The one highlight in that Thunder game was Tripp, man. He had a double-double, 25 and 12. Tripp looks solid, man. He's back, baby. Tripp's back. But he had a rest night against the Thunder or against the Nets the other night. Didn't play. Letting that knee heal up a little bit. David Roddy again, 24 minutes, -12, plus minus. Man, we've got to find another option at guard. We're just really just struggling with guard depth for sure.
Yeah. Well, and we hit on this in the last podcast. That guard depth is coming. We're missing Dez and we're missing Zaire. And so that guard depth's coming. He was never intended on being this many minutes, but they're gonna let him take his lumps, but he's gonna take a lot more lumps right now. So
I heard some talk last episode about Melt over Conchar, and I don't know that I agree.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree.
What's your thoughts there?
I like Jitty. I think he doesn't go cold in the moment, and Melt clearly had a problem with that. We got to the playoffs, Melt just absolutely shut down. We didn't get much out of him at all. I think Conchar's, I hate I'm not sure that I would say he's got a better shot than Melt.
I would say I'd call it a push, honestly.
Yeah, but I think it's close.
Yeah.
Now Melt's probably got better defense, but I feel like I can rely on Conchar a little more over Melt.
I think that Melton is the better player overall. I think Melton defensively and is a better player, and he's got a touch more playmaking, but he's just got that havoc factor that I always appreciated. You're right, and we talked in length last postseason, the postseason before that. The moment just seemed too big, and at some point, when you expect to make runs in playoffs, you've got to make moves for the playoffs, and I think that's what they did. Melt's having a good year so far. He's basically being the same player this year for Philly that he was for Memphis last year. The fans are going to love him. We'll just see what happens in the playoffs.
Yeah. You know, he's averaging 9 points a game this year, 38% from three, pretty much equal numbers he had last year. Conchar's a little bit better at 41, but only averaging 8 points a game. They're basically the same player, but
with Conchar, what you're hoping for is a better. You're hoping for less mistakes, honestly.
You're just hoping for more consistency.
Yeah, with Ja, it's the same thing that with dynamic players, with superstars, especially superstars who can get into the lane, who are physical, who are quick. You need to surround him with shooters. And Conchar, just like the same reason why they drafted LaRavia and Bain, they've got those same measurables. They are shooters. Now, Bain has materialized into much more than just a shooter.
Sure.
But when Ja gets to the lane, if he draws two, be able to make the shot. And that's all they ask out of Conchar.
Yeah.
And he's fine. Honestly, he with Dez out, he played 37 minutes. That's too many minutes.
It is.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You know, give those minutes to Stones. Let's figure something out. But, you know, Conchar, he's serviceable for now. But we are missing Zaires minutes a lot, man. We're getting him back from injury. I think this team looks a lot different down the stretch for sure. But opportunity tomorrow night, coming in against a hot Kings team. They've won 6 in a row. They're 9-2 over their last 11. They've got some big wins. They scored 153 against the same Nets team that beat us the other night by 12 points. So I mean, we got an opportunity at Memphis tomorrow night, 8:00. Any thoughts on that, Drew? I know you've been high on the Kings so far.
Yeah, this is the second time we've played the Kings this year. We played them on, I believe, I don't remember if it was our third or fourth game. It was the fourth game for the Kings, and they were 0-3 and left 0-4. But those 4 losses were to the Trailblazers, and Dame was just on fire to start the season. The Clippers with Kawhi before he took his hiatus for the year.
Yeah.
A 5-point loss at Golden State, and then the Grizzlies. And so you look at those 4 losses, and I left that game thinking they were good, and they had struggled. And that's evident by the fact started 0-4. Now they're 9-6, meaning they're 9-2 after that game, and their losses are at Miami by 3 points, and another loss at Golden State by 3 points. And so that's 6 points away from an 11-4 record. Going on an 11-game win streak after starting 0-4. I think they're good, and I don't think the way the West is going right now with Lakers being terrible, the Warriors can't seem to figure it out. They're going to be a team that I think I can see them bypassing the play-in and just being in that top 6.
Zach, any thoughts on the Kings? Not too many thoughts on the Kings, brother. I have to see it when I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Vlade Divac is still running that team, so they're going to hit some lumps, and I'm just hoping, since the Mariners made the playoffs this year, the Kings now own the longest playoff drought in the Big 3 men's professional sports leagues.
Yeah.
Listen, man, De'Aaron Fox is a player, man. He's fun to watch. You know, he can drop some points. He's a good shooter. Fun guy to watch. So yeah, should be an entertaining game tomorrow night. If nothing else, if y'all want to go, tickets are low as $12 right now, so y'all can sneak out on a Tuesday night and watch them play.
Done it before.
Yeah,
have done it.
The main reason we have Mr. Zach Jones here today is we've got some picks to make. There's some big football this week. We've got rivalry week. We've got Thanksgiving Day NFL football while you need turkey coma. So we got a lot of things we can talk about tonight. So we're going to dive right on into some of our picks. You know, I've been struggling a little bit.
Yeah, give them your record. Give them your record.
So Drew, I did a little research while we were talking a few minutes ago. My record's better than what I thought.
Okay.
I went 1-4 in the first week. I went 1-3 last week. Got myself 2-7 records. Terrible, man. Not going well. The only one I hit on last week took the over Ole Miss Arkansas at 67.5, and it went at 69. So I got a win there. Other than that, it's been abysmal. That's why you
tough sledding, bud.
Bet for fun, not to retire, right?
Yeah.
So what you got this week, Buckets? Hit us with your pick a few of them, because I see your rundown here of the games you're gonna pick. Hit us, talk a little bit about some of them, and then spray us with the last ones.
Yeah. So couple first. We'll kind of dive into a couple we can all relate on. First and foremost, going with the LSU Arkansas game. It's another LSU A&M game. It's a wild game. A lot of weird things happen in that rivalry. LSU is a 9.5 point favorite in that game. I think they cover. They've got an opportunity. Brian Kelly's going to have that team ready. They see whatever small hope they have for a playoff position. I think LSU comes in, takes care of business as a tune-up.
What did you say that spread was?
9.5, I believe.
Okay.
LSU 9.5 point favorite.
A&M's bad.
Yeah, that's a bad football team.
Yeah. Wonder what the over is on that. Yeah.
Over under is got it right here 46.5.
Hammer the over. Hammer the over.
At 46.5, that's low, man.
That's super low. So.
Low.
You're not going to take 9.5 points and not take the over.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Taking the over there as well. So I'll go 2 for on that one. That's a good call. Next up, Missouri, Arkansas. It's kind of a sleepy game. Like, who really cares about Missouri? Who really cares about Arkansas? Arkansas absolutely just manhandled your Rebels last week, Drew. Game, 3-point favorite, over unders 56. Taking the Tigers. It's home game at Missouri, last game of the year. They have played some decent football recently outside of the Tennessee game. Played some good football coming to this one. Arkansas being a 3-point favorite. I'm taking the Missouri Tigers.
Straight up?
Straight up.
Just money line them.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think they beat Arkansas. I think it's a good win for them. Couple more. Being out here on the Carolina coast, Coastal Carolina, shots up. Football matters out here. They are playing at James Madison. Little did you know that there is a football game going on.
Yeah, they are. They're playing at James Madison, boys.
That's right. Yeah. I think this is a tryout game for Jamie Chatwell. I think Tennessee is his dream job. It's not happening unless Ole Miss goes after Heupel, which might explain why they laid an egg against South Carolina.
I can't do
that. No.
We will pay that man.
He would just leave and go to Auburn.
Yeah.
But they're playing at James Madison. They're down their starting quarterback. Grayson McCall's out after a little ankle surgery. They're a 14.5 point favorite. I don't know if they have the dogs to beat James Madison on the road, but I don't think they lose by more than 14.5. I think they cover on the road at James Madison. A little Fun Belt football to end out the year there.
So Coastal plus 14.5.
Yep.
Okay.
Next up, Clemson, South Carolina. South Carolina's coming off an emotional win. Got a big win in a rivalry game. They got an opportunity to go bowling. They're playing well against Tennessee. But unfortunately, they're not playing Tennessee this week. They're playing Clemson. Clemson's got an opportunity to backdoor their way back into the playoffs now. It's a 12 o'clock kick at Clemson. For whatever reason, Clemson plays well in those games at 12 o'clock. They're a 14-point favorite, 14.5 point favorite. I think they kick South Carolina's butt, man. It's not even going to be close. Clemson covers, pulling away.
Agreed. Agreed.
Oh, really?
Agreed.
I'm just not high on them this year.
I'm definitely not. South
Yeah,
Carolina.
I'm not high on South Carolina either. That's the problem. You know,
They only scored 18 touchdowns all year long, and they scored 9 against Tennessee. They used whatever scores they had left for the year that night. That's all they got.
You nailed it. Talk about laying an egg. Yeah, I'm all over that. So
South Carolina's going to get just manhandled. It's not even going to be close.
Yep.
Next up, Zach, I'm sorry, man. I've been on back and forth about this one all night. Tennessee came out and played really well after their last loss. Beat up on Missouri. Like, hey, we're on the revenge tour. We got an opportunity to get back in the playoffs. We're going to win this game. Beat up on Missouri. They're playing a hot Vanderbilt team. And I never thought
I'm going to stop you right there. There is no such thing as a hot Vanderbilt team.
But if there ever has been, it's this one.
You just stop right there.
And it's not even baseball. We're not even talking about Vandy baseball. We're talking about Vanderbilt football, who have won 2 games in a row, beating a ranked Kentucky. And
they're on a heater, boys.
Hey, a win's a heater.
They got an opportunity to go bowling. They're going to be bowl eligible if they beat Tennessee this weekend.
Wow.
They are a 14-point dog at home against Tennessee. When was the last time they were a 14-point dog against an SEC school, particularly one that's in the top 10? I don't know.
James Franklin was probably the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably right. Yep.
Absolutely.
Or they were playing Missouri.
Yeah. Do I think Vanderbilt wins to go bowling? No. But do I think they lose by less than 14? Yes. I think Vandy covers 14-point spread.
All right.
Last one. Let's see. Ohio State, Michigan, big game. I think Michigan's a bad football team. I don't think they're as good as the hype says. Ohio State beats them. They're 7.5-point favorite. I think Ohio State beats them by at least 2 touchdowns. It's Ohio State, Georgia, and everybody else this year. I don't think that game's close, man.
That's probably true.
Yeah, I don't think that game's close. And then finally, Drew, you bet with your head, not your heart. Mississippi State plays at Ole Miss. 2-point road dog. Mississippi State wins outright. Mississippi State covers on the road at Ball Hemingway. But all the distractions put around that program. Hail State, baby. Let's go.
Hail State.
State gets you win.
And I'm surprising everybody. I'm making picks this week. Rusty's 2-7 going in. So I decided to do a lot of research. I've compiled Rusty's picks. Okay. My first pick is A&M against LSU at plus minus 9.5. I'm going to take Arkansas over Missouri. I'm going to
just
take,
all the opposite.
I'm going to take James Madison over Coastal. I'm going to take South Carolina over Clemson. I'm going to take Michigan over Ohio State, Tennessee over Vandy.
You won that one. Yeah.
And Ole Miss over State. By my math, he has won 1 game a week. So I should be 6-1.
There you go. Yeah, that's why the title of this segment has quickly shifted from Get Rich Kids to Rusty's Picks to Rusty, Please Shrink the Deficit. That's all that is.
Yeah. Rusty, maybe a touch rusty. Yeah.
Crusty.
Yeah. All right, Zach, it's your turn, buddy. Brought you on board. Some big NFL games coming up this Thursday. Everybody loves Thanksgiving NFL football. You get to always watch the Cowboys, all these different teams. Zach, what you got for us Thanksgiving Day football, buddy?
Man, Thanksgiving is the best holiday of the year.
I agree.
Bar none.
Wholeheartedly.
It's you just remove every bit of the stress of Christmas and you go straight to eating, and then when you're done, you don't have to speak to any family. You just leave. It's just so nice.
Oh yeah.
And you get football. You get NFL football. Which is a glorious thing. A couple of fun facts about tonight. I don't know if you guys are tuned into this Mexico City game.
I've got it on in the background, and I've been keeping close tabs for one particular reason we'll get to in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Did you know what the elevation of this game is?
Yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
7,200. That's
wow.
2K above Mile High Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So on that first
incredible.
drive of the game, a defender for San Francisco went down and needed oxygen. I was like, already.
Yeah. It's we're up there.
A little fun fact about that too. ESPN broadcaster Ryan Clark couldn't even play in Denver because of a health issue. Ain't no way he's going to Mexico City.
Yeah, sickle cell.
That's right. Sickle cell anemia.
It keeps people out of Denver every year.
Yep.
And that's yeah. Go ahead, Zach.
No, you're fine, man. Yeah, I was just, and I saw earlier too, where for whatever reason, Vivid Seats is tracking ticket sales. I don't know if they're asking a question when people are purchasing tickets. I guess they are.
Yeah.
But 82% of sales are for 49ers fans. Now, explain that.
There's one
I
reason.
can't explain that.
There's one reason.
Because there are no such thing as Arizona Cardinal fans.
I guess they don't travel, but I mean,
It's 82% and 18% undecided.
Yeah. That, or people are there to watch Trent Williams. That guy is an absolute specimen. That tackle for the 49ers, guys who are 300 pounds should not be able to move that well, be lead blockers on safeties down the field. But anyway.
But all right, so we got 3 games on Thanksgiving Day. We got Bills-Lions, which let's see, spread is at 9 for the Bills. Lions are on a 3-game heater, boys.
They are.
They've won against the Packers, the Bears, and the Giants. Now, say what you will about the Packers. You know, my Titans just slapped them around, which was nice. But they still have Aaron Rodgers. You know, the Bears have got a Justin Fields that's starting to excel, and is post rookie season. And the Giants have played well. The Bills have lost 2 of their last 3 to the Jets and the Vikings. That's right. The Bills lost to the Jets, boys. The Jets. And I'm starting to think
the Jets who just hung 3 points against New England.
I know. Yeah. So I'm starting to think, was Brian Dable the key to unlocking Josh Allen? Question that I want to ask,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of merit to that question. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because that guy immediately brought a swagger to the Giants and made Daniel Jones up. Daniel Jones threw his first interception. He was leading the league, had the longest passing streak without an interception in the NFL going into the game yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. And I was looking him up a little early. I didn't realize how long he's been around. Man, he's been a journeyman. Traveled around a lot. It did serve some time under Belichick. So interesting. But
under Saban.
Yeah, correct. And at Alabama. Which is interesting. But on this one, boys, I think the Bills cover. Unfortunately, and I think they win big. I would say Bills by 2 scores. They've had a little bit of a tough stretch, and they need to make this right.
Yeah.
So,
and the Lions give up points by the bunches, man, and the Bills score points by the bunches when they want to, man. So I agree.
Yep.
And there's no
game,
tradition quite
like
watch. There's no tradition quite like watching the Lions lose on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You're right, man.
Yeah.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah. They'd probably rename the holiday if they decided to win one.
Yeah. We got Giants and Cowboys. The Cowboys just came off an absolute browbeating of the Vikings. It was awful. I cannot believe how bad they took it to the Vikings. Any thoughts on that game, boys?
I think it's easily the best game of Thanksgiving, and the Giants are one of the best stories of the whole year. For reasons that we got into, Saquon's back. Dayball's incredible. He's made Daniel Jones look competent enough. They're 7-3, I think the Cowboys just needed to get everybody back because they went to Minnesota. And make your jokes about Minnesota. I haven't been totally convinced by an 8-1 Minnesota team leading into yesterday's games. But regardless, they went into Minnesota and they looked like Arkansas last Saturday.
Yeah.
I think part of it is Zeke's been out, and I think that's on purpose. Tony Pollard is absolutely just slaying, man. That guy
make this man the starting back.
Absolutely, man.
That's the next shoe to drop, and that needs to be the next thing that happens.
Yep. Zeke's
No
gone.
more
It's Tony
50-50.
Pollard.
Make it 75-25 and let Zeke spell him. They'll cut him in the offseason. Somebody will pick him up. It's the way it happens in the NFL.
I'm a Dak fan, right? Went to Mississippi State, all that stuff. But we know he can't stretch the field, right? He's got CeeDee Lamb and still can't stretch the field. But the Vikings had no answer for Tony Pollard. Dude was open on every single play as a dump off and would turn a 3-yard bubble route into a 60-yard house call. So, yeah, Zach, leading to this pick, man, Dallas is hot right now, man. They feed the hot hand.
That's where I'm going with this. They played earlier in the season, 23-16, and that was with Cooper Rush, boys. Yeah. So I think this game is a bit of a no-brainer. I hate to go so chalk on Thanksgiving, but I think the Cowboys mash them. They rushed for right at 200 yards with Zeke and Pollard in the last meeting this year. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys are rounding into form. The defense is absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
and with Micah Parsons. So they're just too good.
Yeah,
it's a lot like, it's you grow up, and Tennessee and Alabama have a lot in. Tennessee and Dallas have a lot in common. You grow up hearing about the '90s, and it just hasn't really happened ever since. And so here we are, and it's like, well, you're gonna have to prove it to me, but that defense
they're good.
Lights out.
It's incredible.
Yeah, they broke Kirk Cousins. I've never seen a quarterback fold in the first quarter before.
Yeah,
they broke him.
Kirk he's a notorious noon prime. His prime time is noon.
Kirk Shiesty, right, Rusty?
Yeah, absolutely. Kirk Shiesty at the noon kickoff, man. You give me at 4:25 or later, boy's taking a nap.
He is taking a nap.
He's going to have to go out go play on the West Coast.
Yeah, absolutely, because, Tony Pollard with 109 yards receiving last week. Dallas just had so much speed, man. And like I said, their defense got after Kirk from the beginning. Trayvon Diggs, say what you want about getting burnt deep. Guys always around the ball making plays. Just absolutely dominated, man. Dominated. So,
So, I'm all over Dallas. I think they'll cover big. Only a 7-point spread. It's a 7-point spread, and I think that's probably too low. I think it's 10-14, really, easily.
What's the over-under on that one?
I'll have to check, Rusty. I'm not sure.
I got to pull it up. I pulled it up right here. 44.5.
That's probably about right, to be honest. I hate to play that. But, I could see, 30-14 or something like that. I can see Dallas covering pretty big. So, last game on Thanksgiving, we got the Pats and the Vikings. And, man, I'm a little bit torn on this game. Only because
it's prime time.
It's prime time. If this was any other time, I'd be all over the Vikings. Mm-hmm. But it's the 7:00 game or the 7:20 kick, and the man has a tendency to fade when the lights come on.
Mm-hmm.
What's the spread?
It's only 2.5. Yeah, the last time I checked.
The Pats are no good, man.
The Pats defense is so much better than the Vikings defense. Their defense is good.
Yeah. And they're on 3 now. Their wins aren't great, but they won 3 in a row, beat the Jets twice and the Colts. But it's still confidence, man.
Yep.
I agree with the primetime argument here, but at some point, at 2.5, the game, where's it at? It's got to be at New England and be bigger, right?
It's at Minnesota.
It's at Minnesota. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2.5 at home. I don't know. Maybe Vegas knows something. That seems too close.
They know the kickoff time. That's what they know. They know it's 8:20.
I'd rather pick the team with the good players. Like that's where I stand on it. Like, I get it.
You see what the Bills, did. So the Bills, when they played the Vikings, Devin Singletary game, as far as I remember. And the Pats have a much better running back. I absolutely love Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, it's great.
So I think on the ground, basically a Titans game, ground and pound of defense. I could see that going the Pats' way, and I could see Belichick scheming up something for Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah,
I
So-
can, but
I would take the Pats and the under all day on that one, man. 42 points, like that's going to that defense can slow down Minnesota. The Pats sure cannot score points. Mac Jones just does not know what he's doing.
That's fair.
Also only scored
I
3
don't think
points.
it's going to be the last one. It's going to be the ugliest game of the day. It might be like 12.
It will. Yeah. You know, there was a stretch in that Jets game where he went 10 for 10.
Yeah, that's true. That's
And
true.
keep in mind, the Pats only scored 3 points on offense against the Jets too.
That's what I'm saying. Like they ain't gonna score points. This one
The
might
Jets
be like
have an elite defense. Don't overlook the Jets.
Gardner, man. Sauce Gardner will be the defensive rookie of the year. That kid can flat play.
These guys that don't overlook the Jets defense. They have an elite defense. It's good.
I read this today. In that Pats game, the Jets averaged 2.77 inches per play. I think like yards. 2.77 inches per play in that game.
Yep. I read something like he got 12 yards total. Zach Wilson had 12 yards total in the second half.
But he had 77 passing yards on the game.
So
that's wild, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, anyways, I'm tempted to just money line the Pats and run with that, to take a dog out of these 3 because I feel like I'm a little too chalky with the Bills and the Cowboys. And the Vikings have showed you they're rounding into what we know the Vikings were, a little bit of frauds, and I'm tempted to take the Pats money line on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
It's fair.
Y'all want to get into y'all want to touch on fantasy real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. So going into, we're recording this early, as we said, due to Thanksgiving holidays coming up, and most of the games are decided. There's a couple that's still outstanding, but because we're recording this during Monday Night Football, we'll just see where it stands. The only one, or one of the 2, and the most hotly contested game is actually between me and our guest speaker today, Zach Jones. Zach brought in a 5-game winning streak against my hapless 3-7 team, and we're currently in a dead heat. Zach is up with no players playing, but I have 3 players playing, and it's getting a little spicy.
It's getting hot. Yep.
Yeah. If you can trust the ESPN projection right now, Zach is still projected to win by 3 points, but Debo is already my highest scorer of the week, and we have 3 minutes and 41 seconds to go in the third quarter. So fingers crossed, I need 15 3/4 points to tie Kingpin Henry.
Out of what, 3 players?
Yeah. Debo, well, out of 2 players, because I haven't seen, since we've been recording, the little
Rondell Moore go down?
Yeah, he went down, and he was questionable to return, and I haven't seen if he's gotten back in or not since we've been recording. But 2 players for sure, Ayuk and Debo for the San Francisco. So, yeah, Rondell Moore has not seen the field since then. If I lose by 0.6 points, it's because he got 1 catch for negative.
Lost 6 yards.
That's rough, man. That's rough.
I rushed for negative 6 yards.
That's rough.
So if I lose, it's because he the one time he caught the ball or he touched the ball, he got hurt.
Finishing with 2 negative players is gonna be rough, Drew. That's tough, man.
Well, it happens. You're all important defensive matchups.
That's it.
Running through the rest of the league, we've got a win for Aaron. He keeps staying hot. He got the win over Neezy, who's going back-to-back losses here. Last week, I thought he was probably out of it after that loss. He's at 4-7. He's definitely done. Matty Ice, Murdoch, Pat stays a little hot, getting almost 40-point win over Kirk. Matty Ice goes to 6-5, dropping Kirk to 4-7. In one of the closest matches of the week, the Commander Steel Curtain, Neezy, stooped down to Jordan's level and came away with a 4-point win over the 0-10 low-key losers.
Man,
and
I thought George was going to get that, dude.
I thought for sure. I knew he was going to get one win this season. I thought that was going to be.
I thought this was it.
And did you see? We were talking Jets Pats a minute ago. Did you see who the leading receiver was for the Jets yesterday?
No.
Mm-mm.
His number one pick, Denzel Mims.
Denzel Mims.
2 receptions for 25 yards. The leading receiver for the Jets yesterday. And let's see. If he would have started Denzel Mims over Denzel Mims would have outscored both of his receivers. Jahan Dotson with a 2.6 points, and Devin Duvernay had 1.7. So it wouldn't have got him over the hump. The 4 points, 4.5 points that Mims got him would not have gotten him over the hump, but it would have made it a little closer. But he would have been the best receiver he'd have played yesterday.
Yeah.
Rounding it out, it's the only other close game that's still in doubt. Team Farrell at 6-4 holds a 136 over 122 lead over Michael Mutters and Saber Muth. Mutters does have 2 players that's playing in this game tonight. I will tell you who that is in just a second, but that one is going to come down to the wire along with mine and yours, Zach.
Yeah, man, we got a close one going.
Yeah. You puckered up or?
A little bit. Yeah, I need this. I desperately need this win to stay in playoff contention.
Yeah, and, you dug yourself in such a hole that you really can't afford to lose.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Rusty's score for this week. 185. My goodness, I got to play him in like 2 weeks. And
having a good week this week, man. You got 2 guys plus 30. You got 5 guys plus 21. I mean, like that ain't bad.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Yeah, that's going to be the highest score all year for sure.
Yeah.
I need
he's
this
still
one
got
bad.
2 players playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm projected at 192 right now with D Hop, and then Robbie Cool still playing. So there's a chance I'm gonna flirt with 200 tonight, depending on how hot.
Crack 200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we stand with fantasy this week. Check back when you hear this and see how the other 2 games ended and see how many points Rusty put up. And then we'll get back with you. Rusty, next week, I'll just let everybody say this to everybody to serve as a reminder. We're going to look at playoff scenarios next week. I want to look at records, points for, matchups, and see what everybody needs to do going into the last week or 2 of the season to stay in, to get into the playoffs or stay into the playoffs. So,
yeah, very good.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Well, as we start coming to the finish, we always talk about the all-important Drew Soccer Minute. I wore my Ted Lasso hoodie tonight. Football is life just for this segment. Drew, hit us with it, man. We got something big's going on in the world of soccer, right?
We do have actual soccer news today.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Zach actually called me today, and I told him I was researching. I was researching for my Soccer Minute. I watched the Men's World Cup group round for the USA. They took on Wales, and they got off to a hot start with an early goal. It was really cool.
One whole goal.
Yeah. It was pretty nifty. They kind of got a steal and dribbled through, kicked it through the middle, and the other guy come around the side. Here comes the goalie, and he kind of right in betwixt the defender and the goalie, right at the back of the net, man.
You won't hear soccer analysis anywhere else like that. Yeah.
And then you wouldn't believe it.
It was nifty. It was betwixt. Boys, it was something.
And then after halftime, they got a penalty. They committed a foul in the box, and so the guy from Wales got a free kick. A penalty.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
The guy from Wales.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he did.
And I'm telling you what, if that's not the biggest layup of a point that you'll ever see in your life, I don't think there's anything easier than kicking a penalty kick in soccer. Just give them a point. Call it a 1-point foul. Like in a game in which it's so low scoring, to just give away points like that because of a foul.
Yeah.
And the guy didn't even really need to foul him, in my professional opinion.
Yeah, of course.
He was right in between him and the goal. So just stand there, bro. That's my soccer minute. I think they play the real England on Black Friday.
Yeah, standard. We'll call that standard England.
Yeah, the Queen's England.
Yeah,
Queen
Queen's.
England,
yeah. In soccer, the USA got off to a hot tie. So,
there we go.
Yeah.
Against an England county, essentially. Like they play
that's
all
exactly right.
They beat the county school.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what. And if people want to get out of London to get out of traffic, they just move to Wales.
That's right.
It's like the Wales is just Buckhead, to England's Atlanta.
Yeah,
right.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
That's exactly right.
Yeah, is
boys.
Buckhead remote enough? I don't know.
Well, boys, man, what a night. We are a podcast for the people. And what do? We bring on the people. Zach, thanks for joining us tonight, buddy.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always
been a good time.
Yeah.
Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving. Eat too much. There's no such thing as too many naps.
Nope.
You don't have to go to work tomorrow.
That's it.
And don't bother shopping either. Just Monday, you'll find it all on Amazon. Same
Cheaper
deal.
anyway.
They'll bring it right to your house.
That's
right.
It. Cheaper anyway. You don't have to fight the crowds. Stay home, watch football, get rich off the picks, and hail state.
My picks. Whatever you were putting on Rusty's picks, just put that and more on mine.
That's a good shot. The odds are in your favor. Let's put it that
Rusty, we don't call Rusty an expert, but you still should fade him. All right, guys.
All right,
y'all
boys.
have a good night. See y'all next week.
All right, man.
Yes.